My husband told me we were too broke to pay the light bill. 3 days later, his mother posted a picture holding the keys to a brand new house, standing in front of a sold sign with the caption, "Look what my son did for his mama. No more struggling. God is good." I sat at our wobbly kitchen table, that picture glowing on my phone, the disconnect between my dark hallway and her bright porch big enough to drive a truck through. My name is Monique. I'm 37, and for most of my adult life, I have known exactly where every dollar in my house is supposed to go. I work as an accounts clerk at a small logistics company. Numbers are my thing. Spreadsheets, invoices, due on receipt stamps. At work, they joke that I can smell a missing 20 from across the room. At home, it's a little two-bedroom upstairs unit over a dry cleaner, the kind of place where you can hear your neighbors argue and the pipes clank when someone takes a shower. Our daughter, Layla, is 8. She sleeps in the smaller room with posters on the wall and a nightlight shaped like a unicorn. My husband, Darnell, is a mechanic. He comes home most nights smelling like oil and metal and that strange mix of sweat and cheap hand soap from the shop bathroom. His hands are always a little rough, his nails stained no matter how much he scrubs. We've been married 10 years, long enough for me to know the rhythm of his footsteps in the hallway, long enough for him to know that if I'm staring too hard at a bill, I'm doing silent math. When we met, I was 26, he was 28, and broke felt romantic. We shared takeout, sat on crates in my first apartment, dreamed big. "One day," he'd say, staring at the ceiling fan, "I'm gonna get my mama out that little box she's in." His mother, Miss Ruby, lived then in a cramped one-bedroom on the west side. Old building, peeling paint, noise at all hours. She raised him alone after his father dipped when Darnell was 5. Her stories always started with when I worked double shifts, and ended with I didn't have nobody but my boy. I understood why he felt like he owed her everything. I even admired it at first. A man who loved his mother, who wanted better for her, that sounded like a good sign back then. We got married in a small church with plastic flowers and real tears. Miss Ruby cried loudest, holding on to Darnell like she was giving away a kidney, not a son. "Take care of my baby," she whispered to me at the reception, gripping my hand a little too tight. "I will," I said. "We'll take care of each other." For a while, we did. We didn't have much, but we had routines. On Fridays, I'd make stewed chicken and rice. Darnell would bring home a cheap bottle of wine, and we'd sit on the couch with Layla between us, watching whatever kids' movie was on. On Sundays, we'd all go to church. Miss Ruby would wave us over to sit in her pew, sometimes slipping Layla $1 for the offering plate, sometimes slipping Darnell a folded bill with, "Get y'all some gas," written in her eyes. Money was always tight, but it was honestly tight. Rent, groceries, Layla's school supplies, car repairs. I stretched my paycheck, he stretched his. We argued sometimes about little things like him buying lunch instead of taking leftovers, but it felt normal, the way couples do. Every now and then, Miss Ruby would call. "Can y'all help with my light bill? Rent went up, baby. I'm short this month. The doctor said I need this new prescription, and my insurance acting funny." We helped when we could. 50 here, 100 there. I'd adjust the grocery list, skip a hair appointment, postpone paying something that wouldn't cut us off immediately. But I told myself, that's what family does. One day, when we're better off, it'll be easier. One day was always somewhere over the horizon. Over the last year, though, something shifted. It started with little we can't. "Ma, can I sign up for dance class?" Layla had asked one evening, eyes bright, flyer in hand. "Ask your daddy," I said, stirring the pot on the stove. She ran to the living room. "Daddy, can I? It's only once a week and they gonna do a show and everything." Darnell skimmed the paper. $200 for 8 weeks, he whistled. "We can't do that right now, baby. We're broke, maybe next term." Layla's shoulders dropped. "Okay," she said quietly, folding the paper smaller and smaller until it was a little square. My chest twinged, but the numbers in my head agreed. We were tight that month. Car insurance. A medical bill from when Layla had that fever scare. I hugged her, said, "We'll see later," and hoped she'd forget. Then it was groceries. "Why you buying brand cereal?" he said one Saturday, looking into the cart. "Grab the store stuff. We broke, remember?" "I have coupons," I replied. "This ends up cheaper this week." "We still broke," he muttered. "You just like acting like we not." I let it slide. Bills started coming up faster than I could juggle them. The electric company sent a reminder notice. The landlord left a voicemail about the rent being a day late. One night, I was at the kitchen table with a stack of envelopes and my laptop, the glow of the screen the only light in the room. Darnell walked in, wiping his hands on a rag. "How bad is it?" he asked. I exhaled. "If we pay everybody what we owe this month, we have about $60 left for groceries," I said. "Maybe 80 if I stretch, and that's not counting Miss Ruby's emergency last week." He frowned. "She needed that, Monique. Her water was about to be turned off." "I'm not saying she didn't," I replied. "I'm saying we needed it too." He rubbed the back of his neck. "We're just in a rough patch," he said. "Once work picks up, we'll be okay." "When?" I asked, not unkindly. "Work. Been picking up for 6 months." He didn't answer, just kissed my forehead and went to bed. A few weeks later, the light bill hit harder than expected. Summer rates. The cost of trying to keep an upstairs apartment from turning into an oven. "The bill is $230, I told him. "We only have $180 left after rent clears." "We can't be sitting in the dark," he said. "I'll figure it out." The next day, he came home with a brown paper bag, fried chicken from that place up the block that we only got when things were good. "Got a little extra tip today," he said, grinning. "Thought I'd treat my girls." "That's nice," I said, "but did you pay the light bill?" His smile slipped. "Not yet," he said. "I'm waiting on something to clear. Don't stress, Monique, we're broke, but we ain't destitute." 2 days later, a pink notice from the electric company appeared on our door. "Final warning!" My stomach clenched. That same afternoon, during my break at work, my phone buzzed with a notification from our family group chat, Ruby and Friends. Miss Ruby had sent a picture. She was standing in front of a house I'd never seen before. Fresh siding, shiny new door, a big red sold sign behind her, tilted just right for the photo. Her hair was done, nails sparkling as she held up keys. "Won't he do it?" her caption read. My son said, "Mama, you're not dying in that apartment." Brand new house. No more roaches, no more loud neighbors. I'm a homeowner now. Heart emojis, praise hands, congratulations started rolling in. "Oh, Auntie, that's beautiful." "Go ahead, Darnell." Real son right there. I stared at the picture so long the screen dimmed. Homeowner. Keys. Brand new. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I typed, "Wow, congrats," then deleted it. Typed, "When were y'all gonna tell us?" Deleted that too. Instead, I just sat there in the staff room, the hum of the vending machine loud in my ears, thinking of the pink slip on my door and my husband's words the night before. We're broke. Broke but buying houses. For someone else. Part 2, From Suspicions to Betrayal. ~10000 plus words. I finished my workday like I was moving underwater. "Everything okay, Monique?" my coworker Jasmine asked as I stapled 3 copies of the same invoice together, hands shaking a little. "I'm fine," I lied, "just tired." On the bus home, I opened that picture again. Miss Ruby's smile. The keys. The house number on the brick pillar behind her, just visible if you zoomed in enough. I took a screenshot. Habit maybe, or instinct. At home, Layla met me at the door, dancing in socked feet. "Mommy, look," she said. "Daddy fixed my toy car." "That's good, baby," I murmured, kissing her forehead. The apartment smelled like fried onions and whatever cleaner I'd used that morning. The pink disconnect notice still sat on the counter. Darnell was on the couch, TV remote in his hand, shoes kicked off. He looked up, smiling. "Hey, babe," he said. "How was?" "When were you going to tell me your mom bought a house?" I asked. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't show him the picture yet. I just watched his face. His smile flickered, then came back too quickly. "Oh, that," he said. "She been talking about it, nothing set yet." "Nothing set," I repeated. "She's standing in front of a sold sign, Darnell, with keys in her hand." His jaw tightened. For a second, he looked like a kid caught with candy before dinner. Then his shoulders squared. "So she told everybody," he muttered. "I asked her to wait." "No," I said quietly. "You asked her not to tell *me yet." He didn't answer. "Where did the money come from?" I asked. "Down payment, closing costs, them keys." He ran his hand over his hair. "We helped with some of it," he said. "She had savings, the rest I figured it out." "You figured it out," I echoed, "while telling me we were too broke to pay the light bill." He spread his hands. "Monique, come on, it ain't like that. I was trying to do something good. You know how long she's been in that raggedy apartment? The ceiling leaks, people fighting in the hallway. I got a chance to move her out. I took it." "And you couldn't include me in that chance?" I asked. "We're supposed to be partners, not you and your mama making moves with our money while I'm here playing guess the balance in the dark." "It's my money too," he shot back. "I work hard for it." "I know exactly how hard you work," I replied. "I also know how hard I work, and I know what's coming in and what's going out, or at least I thought I did." He rubbed his eyes. "This is why I didn't say anything," he muttered. "I didn't want the drama. I just wanted to do something nice for her without you turning it into a war." I stood there a moment, watching the man I married shrink behind excuses. Then I said very calmly, "I'm not going to argue with you right now. I'm tired. But understand something. Not telling your wife you bought a house for your mother with money from our * life, that's not avoiding drama. That's planting a bomb and walking away." He rolled his eyes, turned his attention back to the game, like the conversation was over. That hurt more than if he'd yelled. I went to the bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed with my phone. I opened our banking app. I've always handled our bills, but Darnell had his own checking account too, where his direct deposit went first. Usually, he'd transfer a set amount to our joint account every payday, and I'd work out of that. Lately, those transfers had been smaller later. "Shop been slow," he'd say. I tapped into the joint account history. My stomach sank. 2 months back, a transfer out, $8,500 to an account name I didn't recognize. The memo line, closing. A week before that, $1,200. Before that, $500, all to the same account. I scrolled further. 3 months before our tax refund, about $3,000 had come in. I remembered the arguments then. "We should use this to pay down the credit card," I said. "Get some breathing room." "Or we could treat ourselves for once," he'd replied. "We never do nothing." That refund was nowhere to be seen now. It had been sliced into chunks, moved in pieces, like someone hiding tracks. My throat closed. This wasn't just about his mama's house. This was a pattern of decisions made without me. I clicked over to the savings account, the one we'd started when Layla was born, supposedly, for emergencies and our future down payment. The balance made my heart lurch. $362.11. We had over $9,000 in there at the start of the year. Not rich, but to me, it was 10 years of saying no to little luxuries. 10 years of couponing, of skipping coffees, of telling myself, it'll be worth it when we get our own place. Now it was gone. Another transfer history, $7,500, cashier's check, Bank of Metro, dated 6 weeks ago. Memo, R. Thompson, down PMT. Ruby Thompson. I put the phone down slowly, like it was made of glass. For a full minute, I just listened to the muffled sounds of the game from the living room. A whistle, commentary, Darnell shouting at the TV like nothing had changed. I thought about confronting him again right then, waving the phone in his face, demanding answers. Instead, I picked it back up and opened my emails. Months ago, I'd filled out one of those check if you qualify for a home loan forms with my credit union. Daydreaming. A woman named Karen had left me a voicemail, said to call any time. Tonight I dialed. "Member services, this is Karen," she chirped. "How can I help you?" "Hi," I said, my voice too calm for the storm in my chest. "This is Monique Hughes. I filled out an inquiry about a home loan a while back but never followed up. I'm revisiting." "Of course," she said. I could hear her clicking keys. "Let me pull you up, okay? Yes, I see you. You and your husband, Darnell." "Yes," I said slowly. "We'd be applying together." Another pause, more clicks. She said. "Well, good news and bad news. Good news is your credit score is solid. Bad news is, given your current debt-to-income ratio, especially with the new mortgage, we'd be limited on what we could offer." I stared at the wall. "New mortgage," I repeated. "Yes," she said. "A mortgage opened last month with Metro Bank. Balance roughly here." She rattled off a number that made my head spin. "Looks like a 30-year fixed rate. That payment is a big line on your report." My mouth went dry. "So, just to be clear," I said, "you see my husband on a mortgage already." "Yes, ma'am," she said gently. "I can't see the address without his authorization, but it's there. Any lender you approach will factor that in. And applying for a mortgage for us now would be challenging," she said. "At your income level and with that existing obligation, you'd either qualify for very little or not at all, unless something changes." Something changed, all right, inside me. I thanked her, hung up, and sat there in the dim room, lit only by the phone screen's afterglow. I don't know how long I sat, long enough for Layla to knock on the door. "Mommy," she called softly, "you okay?" I wiped my face. I didn't remember when I'd started crying. "Yeah, baby," I said, clearing my throat. "Come in." She opened the door, her little frame silhouetted. "Can you braid my hair for tomorrow?" she asked. "We got picture day." I looked at her, my child, whose future I was supposed to be building with this man, and something in me settled. "Yes," I said, "come here." As I parted her hair, the familiar motions calmed my hands. Coconut oil, the sound of the comb through her curls, her small body sitting still for once. I thought of the word Karen had used, challenging. Marriage had always been challenging. Poverty had been challenging. But this felt like betrayal with a bow on it. That night, when Layla was in bed and the game was over, I walked back into the living room. Darnell was on his phone, scrolling. "Can you pause that?" I asked. He looked up, frowned at my tone, but put the phone down. "What now?" he asked, weary. I sat across from him, not next to him. That was new, he noticed. "I spoke to the bank," I said, "about seeing if we could qualify for our own place." He blinked. "Now," he scoffed, "after the speech you gave about us being broke." "That's the thing," I said softly. "We're only broke when it comes to us. For your mama, we're homeowners." He stiffened. "They see your name on a mortgage, Darnell," I went on. "Ours, with Metro Bank, 30 years, big payment. It's all right there on your credit." He swallowed, eyes flickering. "Like I said, I helped her," he muttered. "It's no secret I co-signed. She couldn't get approved alone." "You did co-sign asterisk," I said. "You signed. On a debt that makes it almost impossible for us to get anything for ourselves. And you did it while telling me we couldn't afford dance classes or a pair of decent shoes." "It's an investment," he said, clinging to the phrase like a life raft. "When she's gone, the house comes to us. It's like early inheritance. At the rate she's decorating, she might outlive us all," I snapped before I could stop myself. I took a breath. "Even if that's true, that's 30 years. That's Layla grown. That's our whole prime tied up in something you didn't even talk to me about." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I didn't tell you because I knew you'd say no," he admitted. "And I couldn't look my mother in the face and say, I chose waiting for my own house over getting you out the hood." "That's the choice you made," I said quietly, "whether you say it out loud or not." "Don't twist it," he snapped. "You don't get it. When I was a kid and my shoes were flapping, she'd still walk to 3 stores to find me something. She made a way, now it's my turn." "And what do you think I've been doing these last 10 years?" I asked, my voice rising despite myself. Walking into that office every day, dealing with people's overdue accounts, coming home and flipping ground beef 3 different ways. You think I don't know what making a way looks like? He looked away. I'm not saying don't help her, I said, forcing my tone down. I'm saying there has to be a line where we asterisk come first. Me, Layla, this home. You crossed that line, Darnell. You didn't just cross it, you built her a house on it. He rubbed his face. So what you want me to do? He asked. Kick her out, tell the bank to undo it. I can't. No, I said. You can't. That's the consequence of the choice you made. And now I have choices to make too. His eyes met mine, wary. What does that mean? It means tomorrow I'm calling HR and changing my direct deposit, I said. My check is going to an account with just my name on it. I will still contribute to this rent, these bills, our child. But I'm not funding any more surprises. You can't just. I also spoke to a lawyer. I cut in. His head snapped back. Are you serious? Yes, I said. Because if, God forbid, you lose hours or get hurt and can't pay that mortgage, they're not coming for Miss Ruby first. They're coming for you, for what we filed jointly, for tax refunds with both our names. I need to know where I stand before that train hits. He slumped back, staring at me like I'd grown a second head. You went behind my back, he whispered. I almost laughed. Behind your back, I said. Darnell, you put a mortgage behind my back. You took our savings behind my back. You've been living in 2 financial lives and only telling me about the broke one. He had no answer. For the first time, I saw the full shape of the man in front of me. Not just the boy who wanted to save his mother, but the adult who was willing to risk drowning his wife and child to do it. I'm not saying I'm leaving, I said after a stretch of silence. Not today, but I am saying this. From this moment on, I am going to act like someone who has to protect herself and her daughter. If that threatens you, ask yourself why. He stared at the TV, now dark, remote, untouched. You really gonna make this about lawyers and bank accounts, he muttered. I just wanted to do something good. You wanted to be a hero, I corrected softly. Heroes don't hide the cost from the people they're supposed to be saving. I stood up. I'm going to bed, I said. We can talk again when you're ready to have a real conversation, not just defend your mama. I left him there in the dim light of the living room, the hum of the refrigerator, the only sound between us. I didn't know then that the next conversation would happen with more witnesses than either of us wanted. Because Miss Ruby wasn't finished celebrating. And she had plans for a house blessing party that would bring everyone face to face with the truth. Part 3, House Blessing, Public Consequence and Healing, Tilda 100 words. The invitation came through the family group, chat like a church announcement. House blessing at my new home, party popper. Sunday 3 p.m. Food, prayer, praise. Come see what the Lord and my son has done. Underneath, Miss Ruby had added a string of emojis, praise, hands, keys, a little house. Then, as if she couldn't help herself, another message. Monique, you can come too if you gone, come with a grateful spirit. This is a celebration, not a complaint session. I stared at the screen, feeling my jaw tighten. Darnell came into the kitchen just then, grabbing a bottle of water. He saw the chat on my phone. Ma just excited, he said too quickly. She don't mean nothing by it. She means exactly what she wrote, I replied. She wants you on a pedestal and me on mute. He sighed. Please don't start. It's just a house blessing. Pastors coming, cousins, church folks. Can we not make a scene? I rinsed my mug slowly. That depends, I said, on whether the story being told in that house matches the reality of how we got there. He rubbed his face. Monique. I'm not promising to sit quiet while people praise you for a sacrifice that emptied our asterisk future, I cut in. But I can promise this. I won't scream. I won't throw punches. I will tell the truth calmly one time. What you and your mama do with it after that, that's between you, her, and God. He didn't like that answer, but he didn't forbid me from going either. Sunday came. Layla put on her little yellow dress because it looks like sunshine, Mommy. I pressed her hair into 2 neat braids, tied with white bows. As I did, she asked, "Are we going to live in a house like Grandma's one day?" I swallowed. "We're going to have something that's ours one day," I said. "Maybe a house, maybe something else, but it'll be with your name written on it in some way too. Okay." She seemed satisfied with that for now. Miss Ruby's new neighborhood was a world away from our upstairs unit. Cookie-cutter houses with small lawns, young trees, mailboxes all in a neat row, kids on bikes, wind chimes. The kind of place realtors put soft music over in commercials. Her house had balloons tied to the mailbox and a hand-written sign on the door. "Ruby's Blessing House, come in." Inside, the smell of fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, and pine sol hit my nose all at once. Gospel music played from a Bluetooth speaker in the corner. People milled around, paper plates in hand, admiring everything. "Look at these countertops." "Ooh, she got stainless steel." "A walk-in closet, too. You fancy Aunt Ruby." Miss Ruby stood in the living room like the queen of a small country, wearing a bright floral dress and gold sandals, her hair freshly pressed. When she saw us, she stretched her arms wide. "My bobbies," she cried, pulling Layla into a hug, then patting Darnell's chest. "Look what your daddy did, Layla. Your grandma got a real house now." Her eyes slid over to me. "Hey, Monique," she added like an afterthought. "I see you made it." "I did," I said. "It's a nice place." She beamed, taking the compliment as her due. "God is faithful," she said loudly, making sure the room heard. "When you raise your kids right, they remember you." A couple of church ladies, MMMHM Med, and nodded, eyes flicking between us. I bit my tongue. We did the tour. Miss Ruby pointed out every feature. The pantry big enough to get lost in. The guest room, for when my son needs a break from his place. The backyard, for the cookouts we're gone have. Every other sentence started with my son. I noticed the master bedroom had a brand new bedroom set. The tags were still tucked under the bed skirt. On the dresser, in a frame, was a picture of Darnell at 5 years old, gap-toothed and grinning. No picture of him grown with his own family. No Layla. The knot in my stomach tightened. Back in the living room, Pastor Gaines from their church cleared his throat. "Saints," he said, raising his hand, "if we could gather for just a few words and a prayer over this home." People settled into seats and leaned against walls. Darnell stood near Miss Ruby, one hand on the back of her chair. I sat on the edge of the couch with Layla next to me, her legs swinging. "We're here today to rejoice with Sister Ruby," Pastor began, "for the blessing of this new home. The Bible says, 'As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.' And I know this house will be full of praise." "Amen," Miss Ruby said loudly. "And we also want to honor the vessel God used," Pastor continued. Turning to Darnell, her son, a man who didn't forget where he came from, who sacrificed to make sure his mother could live better. "Tell it," a relative shouted. Pastor nodded. "Darnell, you are an example," he said. "In a world where so many neglect their elders, you stepped up. You gave even when it meant doing without for yourself. That's the heart of Christ." Applause, murmurs of "that's right." Miss Ruby dabbed her eyes with a tissue. The words were too much. Sacrificed, stepped up, doing without for himself. What about doing without for us? Before my brain could overthink it, my hand went up. "Pastor, may I say something?" I asked. The room stilled. All eyes shifted to me. Pastor hesitated, then nodded. "Go ahead, Sister Monique." I stood, smoothing my dress with damp palms. "I'm not going to take up much time," I said. "This is a happy day. Grandma Ruby is in a better place than she was, and I will never begrudge anyone a safe home." Miss Ruby's chin lifted a little, like she was waiting for the but. She was right. "But," I continued, "since we're thanking God for the sacrifice involved, I think it's only fair to tell the whole story of what that sacrifice cost." A murmur rippled through the room. Darnell's jaw flexed. "When we say Darnell sacrificed," I said, "what that looked like was this. He took thousands of dollars out of a joint savings account. Money I put in from my checks, too. He spent our tax refund. He signed a 30-year mortgage for a house he doesn't live in. He did all of that without telling his wife. A few people gasped. One auntie quietly crossed herself. In the same months he was doing that, I went on, voice steady though my heart pounded. He was telling me we were too broke to pay the light bill, too broke to sign our daughter up for dance class, too broke to even think about applying for a home of our own. I looked around the room, meeting a few eyes. So yes, he sacrificed. He sacrificed our family's chances, our savings, our credit for this. I gestured around. Miss Ruby's face flushed. You see, she burst out. This is what I meant. She always trying to steal my joy. This is my day, Monique. I'm not stealing your day, I said calmly. I'm just not going to let my silence be used as proof that I'm ungrateful or lazy. Too many of y'all know me. You know I work. You know I show up. You know I've been talking about getting out of that upstairs apartment for years. A couple of cousins nodded reluctantly. I'm not here to make you choose sides, I said. I'm here because if things go wrong, if Darnell's hours get cut, if he gets hurt, if payments get missed, the bank isn't coming to pray in this living room. They're coming for his credit, our taxes, the life me and my child built too. Pastor cleared his throat. This is sensitive, sister, he said carefully. I know, I replied, and I won't say more. I just needed it said once out loud that this house wasn't free, not in money and not in what it did to our household. I looked at Miss Ruby. I don't begrudge you a better life, I said, but I will no longer be the quiet wife people assume doesn't mind being last in line. Then I sat down. The silence that followed was thick. Someone's cup crinkled. The music on the Bluetooth speaker had cut off mid-song, leaving just the hum of the air conditioner. Finally, one of Darnell's older uncles, quiet, stern, spoke up. Son, he said, looking at Darnell, did you sign that paperwork without telling your wife? Darnell swallowed, eyes on the floor. I was gonna tell her, he said. I just didn't know how. That's not an answer, the uncle said. Darnell's shoulders sagged. Yes, he admitted. I signed it without her. Then that was wrong, the uncle said simply. I don't care how good your intentions were. A house built on secrets don't stand long. Miss Ruby glared at him. Cut it out, Earl, she snapped. You always judging. At least my boy Asterisk did asterisk something. How many times you helped your mama? Earl's wife laid a hand on his arm. Ruby, she said quietly, nobody, saying you don't deserve comfort. They saying your son got a whole Asterisk family now. Choices hit more than just you. The room buzzed with low conversation. Pastor finally raised his hand again. All right, he said. Emotions are high. Truth has been spoken on all sides. What I hear is a need for boundaries, wisdom, and maybe some counseling. He looked at us. This is not the time or place to solve it all, he said. But let's pray over this house that no matter what, God's peace, not just pride, lives here. The prayer was shorter than I think he'd planned. The amens were softer. Afterwards, people lined up for food, but the mood was different. A cousin pulled me aside in the hallway. I didn't know it was like that, Monique, she whispered. I'm sorry if I ever made it seem like you were the problem. I nodded. Thank you, I said. It didn't fix anything, but it eased a small sting. When it was time to go, Miss Ruby hugged Layla tight, then looked at me with cold eyes. You ruined my blessing day, she hissed under her breath. No, I said softly. Your blessing is still here. The truth just moved in next door. On the ride home, Darnell was quiet. Layla napped in the back seat, head lolling. Finally, he said, you had to do that in front of everybody. I looked out the window at the passing houses. You had to sign a mortgage behind my back, I replied. We all make choices. He sighed, long and tired. I don't know how to fix this, he admitted. Start by admitting who you're trying to impress, I said, and who you've been willing to hurt to do it. The months that followed were not a neat montage of growth. There were ugly arguments, silent dinners, nights he didn't come home on time and I didn't bother to call. Miss Ruby stopped speaking to me, except in stiff texts about Layla's visits. Counseling helped some. In that small office with neutral walls and a box of tissues on the table, Darnell faced questions no one had asked him before. How much of your identity is tied to saving your mother? Where does your wife fall on your priority list? What does it mean to be a good son asterisk and a good husband, not one or the other? Some days he engaged, other days he shut down. Shame is a heavy coat, people don't often take it off easily. I kept seeing Ms. Harris, too. We formalized a post-nuptial agreement outlining that any further debts for his mother's house were his alone. My income was separated. If foreclosure ever loomed, there were clauses to protect a portion of assets for Layla. A year passed. We did not buy a house. But we did something else I never thought we'd do. We moved into a cheaper apartment. It hurt my pride at first. From our little upstairs unit over the dry cleaner to an even smaller place closer to my job. But the rent was lower, utilities included. It gave me breathing room. Darnell chose to come with us instead of staying closer to his mother's subdivision. That, in its own quiet way, was a decision. He still helps with Miss Ruby's mortgage, but now it comes from his asterisk account. If he falls short, I no longer scramble my whole life to cover the gap. Layla still asks about houses sometimes. I don't make big promises. I tell her the truth in small, digestible pieces. We might not have a house with stairs right now, I say, but we have a home where the bills are honest and the lights stay on. That matters too. Some days, I think our marriage might not make it all the way to old and gray. Trust is a fragile thing. Ours has cracks that may never fully smooth out. Other days, I see Darnell doing the little work, telling his mother no when she asks for too much, coming with me to budget nights, admitting when he's scared instead of hiding it behind bravado. And I think maybe there's something worth saving here. Either way, I know this. I will never again let someone tell me we are broke while they build an empire somewhere else with my labor. If we're sacrificing, it will be for a future I can see, touch, and sign my own name on. Would you like me to write the final closing audience reflection now, where I speak directly to the listeners with the moral and a question, in Auntie Me style?